Welcome everyone to a very special session today. My name's Andrew Henderson. I am one of the account directors within our AR division at Blackline. And today I'm actually going to be talking to one of our customers from Chef's Warehouse who have implemented Blackline cash application. And what we're going to do is go through the story to date from their selection process and their evaluation of their existing processes prior to selecting the solution and the journey that Blackline took them on, and looking at the back of it as far as the results are concerned as well. So without further ado, I'll let Nelson introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Nelson Lopes. I'm the Director for Financial Reporting and Treasury at the Chef's Warehouse. We're a food distributor, public company with about 1.1 billion in sales. And our core customer group are independent restaurants throughout the United States and Canada.
Excellent, brilliant. Thank you for joining me today, Nelson. So I think where we want to start off really is what motivated you to evaluate AR automation solutions. So really focus on where have you come from prior to today?
Sure. In my role as Director of Treasury, there is kind of a natural overlap with cash application, as well as obviously our banking partners. And one of the things that just popped out to me in our bank fees were the lockbox keying services. So we were paying our lockbox provider X amount of dollars a year to provide a certain data that would facilitate the auto cash application within one of our ERP systems. So we did come from a situation where we did have an in-house generated auto cash app process in our JDE ERP, but again, we're a multi-ERP environment, mostly due to the acquisitive nature of our business. So in looking into it, I was trying to figure out a way, is there a way to auto match without having to rely on those keying services? And that's when I came across Remilia at the time, which has clearly been acquired by Blackline since.
Great, no, brilliant. Thank you very much for that. And as far as the selection process itself, of course, yeah, you were talking to Remilia and of course selected Remilia, which is now Blackline cash application. But yeah, was there anything in particular that stood out from a Remilia perspective that took you down the path of Remilia as far as choosing a vendor?
So we had two proof of concepts, one with Blackline and one with one of your other competitors. I did, seek the feedback of the core cash application team that just cranks this out on a day-to-day basis. And they all agreed that the Blackline user interface, the people that we met with, were all superior to the competition. From my perspective, one of the key differentiators was the auditability of the pricing structure. Some of the competitors were billing us based on remittance lines, which is very difficult for me to get a sense out of. Not to say that anybody's dishonest, but you want to be able to have some type of correlation between your payment volume and what you're paying your service contractors for. And I felt that Blackline's pricing structure was much more transparent to the end user. Excellent,
thank you. And just moving, just changing gear ever so slightly and moving on to the actual implementation itself. So yeah, you've selected a vendor being Blackline and going for the cash application solution itself, which is great. But as far as the implementation, can you take us through a bit about the positives of that and how that all started and the involvement as well?
Sure. Our Blackline implementation for this particular module took quite a long period of time, mostly due to, at the onset of it, COVID hit, which was very significant on our business. So we obviously had to shift our strategy to some more critical concerns at the time. But as the impact of the pandemic kind of normalized, we were able to get back into Blackline, and the implementation specialists that worked on it, they were very knowledgeable. One of them, had come from a similar situation to where I was, so they were a customer. So that's always helpful to have that point of view from the implementation person. because they've walked in your shoes and they understand, what some of your concerns are. And they also understand that there was kind of you start off with one vision and then you decide you want to tinker with it a little bit. So there was some tinkering, but ultimately, it took us about 11 months to get on, again, mostly due to the impacts of the pandemic. And now we are currently working on getting it on the other half of the company. So we are only using Blackline Cash Apps on the JDE ERP system, and now we're moving to transition that over to the rest of the company.
Excellent. And I just wanted to point out a point you've made there about the subject matter experts throughout the implementation and the onboarding process. They were kind of extremely critical as far as the implementation goes, from actually taking on the solution and using it on a daily basis with the users that have got their feet on the ground. Is that fair to say?
No, yeah, absolutely. And they're willing to work with you and try to solve problems that are particular to your business. So there were a lot of peculiarities with, certain group payments that we would get where, one payer is paying for multiple customers, and try to fine tune the system so that it gets you the best outcome.
So another area I wanted to touch on, Nelson, thank you for taking us through some of the points on the auto match rates, but was there anything outside of that had a really big impact on the business? I think, we've obviously got the match rates, and that's something we look at as a business ourselves. Was there anything else that really stood out for you as far as impact on the wider business?
Well, for me, it's kind of the visibility of other metrics that are inherent in the application. So actually being able to get, pretty decent reporting on, when individuals are able to complete their respective lockboxes, being able to track, the match rates over time, lockbox by lockbox, ACH versus check. It gives you some more visibility into your data that you wouldn't have under our old process. And then you can kind of fine tune, all right, is it a particular user that needs additional training on the application? Is it a particular customer out there that we can work with and try to get better remittance information from that could, help achieve a better rate? I think long-term, as we get to the second phase and we get Blackline onto the other ERP system right now, which does not have any auto match whatsoever on it, is kind of moving into a shared services platform where our cash application team across the company is can become ERP agnostic. And that would really help us kind of leverage and move some of those resources to some more value add tasks where they're more customer facing, assisting our credit team, assisting our sales team, and providing kind of greater customer satisfaction to our end customers rather than just cranking through cash application.
One thing that I'm really keen to find out, Nelson, is if you have one particular top tip for someone who is looking to embark on that journey for cash application automation. Apathy is sometimes an easy way out of this, but of course, it'd be great to understand your insight on that, even if you've got any top tips for anyone.
Sure, and I can relate to that. I mean, we run into that at our organization. Particularly anything that requires IT time. That is a very scarce resource at our company. But what made it easy for us was the fact that when we asked for that POC, almost all of that work that was done to prove your concept was done by the Blackline team. I mean, we provided some data, right, which didn't require much of IT's time. And, they were very kind of diligent in providing us what exactly they needed. We provided it. They took a couple of weeks to turn it around and present it to us. And I think once you're able to see, how something works with your data in particular, and then again, the ROI on it is really good. I could present this to our CAO, to our CFO, and they're like, this is a no-brainer, we got to do it. And that gets, once your executives are got the buy-in, then the gears start really rolling and you have the support of IT all of a sudden. So that would be my recommendation.
Brilliant. And to summarise, easy to get the executives to buy in and fairly light touch on the IT side of things as well.
Yeah, and a proof of concept for sure. It was very easy to get that rolled out. We probably had a proof of concept, 6 months before we actually signed the agreement.
And I think before we wrap up today, I think what would be great is to hear about some lessons learned for those that are absolutely, considering on embarking on this journey with certainly Blackline and our cash application tool. Have you got any sort of feedback and insight into the process and lessons learned as well?
Sure. So full transparency with Blackline implementation team upfront, meaning kind of share what your future outlook is. So when we first, took on Blackline, we kind of had a vision of, okay, we're going to get onto JE, which is our main ERP system, and then kind of roll it out to some of our other ERP systems, again, because we are a multi-ERP environment, given the fact that we are so acquisitive. I think if we had been more clear with that up front, we would have built a more streamlined plan to kind of phase that approach quicker than we did. Now, we got it on JDE, we took a little break. Now we're going to get it on the other ERP systems. We may have had a more smooth rollout had we planned that up front. Okay,
cool. That makes sense. Thank you. And I think just to wrap things up, is there anything else you'd like to add as far as a kind of final strapline?
Sure. So one of the things I was happy about that you guys went ahead and brought this module into your platform is we're Blackline customer on other products. So we're journals. We're implementing journals right now. We've been on account recs for about 3 years. We have tasks, and I'm really interested to see, how, this module can get, potentially interfaced and interact with some of the other modules, particularly journals. I think there could be some really nice efficiency there if those two systems did talk to one another. So I'm excited really to see what Blackline develops over the next, 6 to 12 months. That might be, more beneficial to our entity.
Brilliant. No, that's great. Thank you very much for that, Nelson. And I think we can absolutely end things there. And just wanted to say thank you very much for your time today. It was great to have a chat with you. And of course, look forward to continue our partnership in the future.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Drew.